Be me, Andrew, early 30s. Systems analyst at some mid-sized tech company you've never heard of. It's not a passion, it's a job. I'm good at it. Untangling digital spaghetti for 8 hours a day so that other people can fill out their spreadsheets. Been here for years. Started at the bottom, worked my way up, kept my head down, did the work, collected the paycheck. The goal for the last 2 years has been the senior analyst position. It's the next logical step. More responsibility, better pay, a title that doesn't sound like I'm still an intern. My direct manager, a decent guy for a corporate lifer, had been hinting at it for a while, told me I was the top contender, that my performance reviews were spotless. Just a matter of waiting for the current senior analyst to finally retire. So I wait. I keep doing my job, fixing problems, mentoring the new hires, biding my time. Life is predictable, stable, boring, fine. Then the changes started. It began with an email, company-wide announcement. We had a new Chief Human Resources Officer, Nicole. The email had a smiling corporate headshot, one of those pictures where the eyes don't smile. Attached was a long, rambling mission statement full of buzzwords: synergy, empowerment, paradigm shift, inclusivity. It was like a game of corporate bingo. I deleted it and got back to work. HR was just the department that organized the awkward Christmas party. Not my problem. A week later, a mandatory all-hands meeting is scheduled. Nicole is going to address the company. The entire office shuffles into the main conference hall. The air is thick with the smell of cheap coffee and quiet desperation. Jace, a guy from my team, sits next to me. Good dude. We share the same brand of quiet cynicism. He leans over. Get ready for a lecture on how we can be better corporate citizens. I just nod. He's not wrong. Nicole takes the stage. She's exactly like her picture, dressed in a sharp, expensive-looking suit. She radiates an aura of absolute self-satisfaction. She starts talking. And it's even worse than we imagined. It's a full-blown sermon. She talks about the historic injustices within the corporate world, about the unseen barriers, and the pervasive nature of the boys' club. She keeps using the phrase, smash the glass ceiling. I think I heard it at least 5 times. Jace starts discreetly ticking a checklist on his notepad. Then she gets to the point. She announces her flagship initiative, the Women First Promotion Policy. A hush falls over the room. The policy is simple, she explains, with a triumphant smile. To correct the glaring gender imbalance in leadership roles, from this day forward, when a management or senior position opens up, female candidates will be given priority. She clarifies what this means. If there is at least one qualified female applicant, she will get the job. A male candidate will only be considered if, and only if, 0 qualified women apply. She says it's a necessary step to fast-track equality and dismantle the systemic patriarchy within the company. I look around the room. The women are mostly clapping, some looking a bit uncertain. The men are silent, just dead, blank stares. The director of my department is sitting a few rows ahead. He's just staring at his shoes. He knows what this means. Jace leans over again, his voice a low whisper. So, merit is officially a 4-letter word now. The meeting ends. We file out in silence. The atmosphere in the office is heavy. No one is talking about it, but everyone is thinking it. My path to senior analyst just got a massive roadblock dropped on it. A few weeks pass. The old senior analyst finally has his retirement party. We eat some cheap cake, listen to some speeches, and wish him well. The next morning, the official job posting for senior systems analyst goes live on the internal portal. My heart sinks a little, but I've worked too long for this. I have to try. I spend the evening polishing my resume, writing a detailed cover letter highlighting my 8 years of experience, my successful projects, my expertise in the company's specific systems. I submit my application. My manager pulls me aside the next day. He looks uncomfortable. He tells me my application is incredibly strong, and that under the old system, I'd be a shoo-in. He says he'll put in a good word for me, but he has to be honest. It's all up to HR now. His hands are tied. I appreciate his honesty at least. I find out who else applied. One other guy from another department with about the same experience as me. And Camila. Camila is on our team. She's been with the company for maybe a year and a half. She's not a bad person. She's cheerful, always talking about her weekend plans, but she is not good at her job. I have a folder in my email inbox titled Camila's Messes. It's full of forwarded tickets and requests where I had to step in and fix her mistakes. Basic SQL queries she couldn't figure out. Server permissions she set up incorrectly, causing an outage for an entire department. A data migration script she wrote that had to be completely rewritten by me because it was so inefficient it would have taken a week to run. She's the kind of employee who creates more work than she completes, but she's the only female applicant. According to Nicole's new Bible, that's all that matters. I try to stay optimistic. Maybe they'll see the massive gap in experience. Maybe competence will still count for something. The interview process is a joke. HR sends me a list of canned questions about my vision for the team and how I handle workplace conflict. I have a brief technical interview with my director, which goes perfectly. He knows I know my stuff. Then I have the final interview with Nicole. It's less of an interview and more of an interrogation about my awareness of social issues. She doesn't ask me a single technical question. Instead, she asks how I would foster a more inclusive environment. She asks me to describe a time I challenged unconscious bias. She talks a lot about toxic masculinity in the tech space. I try my best to give the politically correct answers I know she wants to hear. It feels like I'm betraying myself with every word. I leave her office feeling drained and disgusted. A week of silence follows. The whole team knows what's happening. The tension is thick. Camila is acting extra cheerful, which somehow makes it worse. The email arrives on a Friday afternoon. The subject line, Update on your senior analyst application. It's the generic, soul-crushing HR rejection letter. Thank you for your interest. A large number of highly qualified candidates decided to move forward with another applicant. Wish you the best. I just stare at the screen. I'm not surprised, but it still feels like a punch to the gut. It's the injustice of it all. Not that I lost, but that I was never even allowed to compete. My 8 years of work, my loyalty, my expertise, all irrelevant because of my gender. An hour later, the official announcement comes through. Please join us in congratulating Camila on her promotion to Senior Systems Analyst. A wave of forced, awkward congratulations fills the team chat. I type "congrats" and close the window. Jace walks over to my desk. He doesn't say anything. He just puts a hand on my shoulder for a second, then walks away. That night, I can't sleep. I keep thinking about that meeting, the smug look on Nicole's face, the feeling of being dismissed, of being told that who I am is more important than what I can do. It feels like the rules of the world have been rewritten, and I'm on the losing side by default. Out of sheer frustration and boredom, I open my work laptop. I start browsing the company's internal policy documents, hundreds of them, health and safety, data security, expense reports, a digital library of corporate nonsense. I'm not looking for anything in particular, just a distraction. I click through folder after folder, and then I find it. Buried deep in the HR section, there's a document titled Equality, Diversity, and Self-Identification Policy. It's a new one. The last updated date is from a week after Nicole started. She must have written it herself. I open the PDF. It's mostly the same boilerplate stuff. The company is committed to equality, yada, yada, yada. But then I get to a specific section, Section 4B. Gender identity. I read the paragraph once, then I read it again. It says, "This company recognizes that gender is a matter of personal identity. We unconditionally accept and respect the gender with which an employee identifies." It continues, "An employee may update their gender marker in the official company records at any time. To do so, they must complete and submit Form HR 37B. No medical or legal documentation is required. The employee's self-declared gender will be accepted without question." Without question. No documentation required. A slow grin spreads across my face for the first time in weeks. The architect of the system had, in her ideological zeal, created the perfect loophole. She had built a cage of her own rules, and she had just handed me the key. The next morning, I walk into the office with a purpose. I don't say a word to anyone. I go to the internal forms portal. I find HR 37B. Gender Identity Update Form. It's a simple one-page document. Name, employee ID, and a series of checkboxes. Male, female, non-binary, prefer to self-describe. I tick the female box. I print the form. I sign it at the bottom. I walk to the HR department. It's on a different floor, a place I usually avoid at all costs. The HR assistant, a young woman who looks perpetually bored, is at the front desk. I hand her the form. "I was told to submit this here." She glances at it, her eyes barely registering the words. She just sees a form, a piece of paper to be processed. She pulls out a stamp, slams it on the paper with a satisfying thud, and says, "This will be updated in the system within 24 hours. She doesn't even look up. I just say thank you and walk out. As I'm walking back to my desk, Jace stops me. He saw me coming from the direction of HR. "Everything okay, man? You didn't get in trouble, did you?" I just look at him. I can't help but smile. "No, not in trouble." "What were you doing down there then?" I pause for a second, savoring the moment. "Just playing by the new rules, Jace. Just playing by the rules." He gives me a confused look, but I just walk back to my desk and start my work. Outwardly, nothing has changed. I'm still Andrew. I still dress the same, talk the same, do the same job. But in the deep digital heart of the company's bureaucracy, I am now a woman. And I wait. A month goes by. Camila is struggling in her new role. The Camillus' Messes folder in my inbox is getting fuller. I'm now getting called into meetings to explain complex systems to her, effectively doing the job of a senior analyst, without the pay or the title. It's frustrating, but I know I just need to be patient. Then, another opportunity arises. The company lands a new project, and they're creating a new dedicated team to handle it. They need a project team lead. It's not senior analyst, but it's a leadership position. A step up, a promotion. The job is posted. I read the description. It's a perfect fit for my skills. I open my application folder, I update my resume, and I apply. 2 other people apply. Both men. Both good, experienced guys from other teams. The interview process starts. This time, I know the game. The first interview is with the department director. It's another technical round. I nail it. Then comes the final interview with Nicole. I walk into her office and sit down. She has my file open on her desk. She looks at me, then looks down at the file, then back at me. There's a flicker of confusion in her eyes. She sees my name, Andrew, and right next to it, in the system-generated profile, the gender marker, F. She can't hide her surprise. Her professional smile tightens just a little at the edges. This is the moment, the first test. I brace myself for the question. The, "I think there has been a mistake," or the, "Can you explain this?" But the question never comes. She can't ask it. If she questions the F on my file, she's questioning my self-identification. And according to her own masterpiece, Policy 4B, that is forbidden. She would be a bigot, a transphobe. She is trapped. So, She just has to pretend that everything is normal. She has to interview the man sitting in front of her as if he were a woman. The interview is surreal. She asked me the same HR-approved questions as last time, but her tone is different. It's strained. She's trying so hard to act normal that it's completely abnormal. So, as a woman in tech, what unique challenges do you think you face? I have to physically bite my tongue to keep from laughing. I give her a serious, thoughtful answer about the importance of feeling seen and having a voice at the table. I use all her favorite buzzwords against her. She just nods, a forced smile plastered on her face. The interview ends. We shake hands. Her grip is tense. I walk out of her office, feeling 10 feet tall. The decision comes 2 days later. It's not an email this time. The department director calls me into his office. He closes the door. He looks at me, and for a second, I think he's about to laugh. But he keeps a straight face. "Congratulations, Andrew. HR has approved your promotion. You're the new project team lead." He hands me the official offer letter. My plan had worked. It had actually worked. I used their own absurd, broken logic to beat them. I accepted the position. The announcement goes out. There's some confusion in the office. People are happy for me, but they're also surprised. They knew 2 other guys were in the running. They don't understand how I won. But Jace knows. He comes to my desk later that day. There's a look of pure, unadulterated awe on his face. "You actually did it," he whispers, like he's just seen a unicorn. "You crazy son of a bitch, you actually did it." I just lean back in my chair. "Nicole's policy is all about promoting women, right?" I say. "Well, I was the only woman who applied." The news of my promotion spreads like a virus through the department's grapevine. It becomes the main topic of conversation by the coffee machine and in the chat channels. Nobody says it out loud, but everyone is thinking the same thing. How? How did Andrew beat 2 other guys for a leadership role under Nicole's new regime? They saw the system was rigged. They saw me lose the senior analyst position. Now they saw me win. It didn't add up. The following Monday, Jace pulls me into an empty meeting room. He closes the door and just stares at me. "You have to tell me," he says, his voice low. "I've been running the numbers all weekend and it makes no sense. What did you do?" I decide he's earned the truth. He was the one who was there for me when I got passed over. So I tell him. I explain the policy I found. Section 4B, the self-identification clause. I tell him about Form HR 37B. As I'm talking, his expression changes from confusion to disbelief, and then to a slow, dawning comprehension. A single, sharp laugh escapes him. He leans against the wall, shaking his head. No way. There is no way she was that stupid. She created a policy to prioritize women, and then created another policy that lets anyone become a woman on paper? No questions asked? That's the one, I say. She built the perfect trap for herself. He's silent for a full minute, just processing the sheer, beautiful irony of it. "So, in the eyes of the company," he says slowly, "you were the most qualified woman for the job." "The only woman for the job," I correct him. He just starts laughing, a real deep laugh of pure catharsis. We leave the meeting room, and I can see the wheels turning in his head. A week later, another promotion is posted. A senior network engineer position. A guy named Mike from the networking team was the obvious choice. 10 years with the company, knows the infrastructure inside and out. He's practically running the department already. A junior engineer, a woman with 2 years' experience who Mike himself had trained, also applies. We all knew how this was going to end. It was Camila all over again. I see Jace talking to Mike by the water cooler. It's a long, quiet conversation. The next morning, I see Mike walk toward the HR department, a single sheet of paper in his hand. He has the same determined look I had a month ago. He gets the promotion. Suddenly, everyone understands. The secret is out. It becomes an unspoken movement, a quiet rebellion fought with paperwork. The database administrator, who'd been a senior in all but title for 5 years, but kept getting passed over. He fills out the form. 2 guys from the software development team, both of whom had lost out on a team lead position to a less experienced woman from marketing who wanted to transition into tech, they fill out the form. Jace, who was eyeing a senior QA role that was about to open up, preemptively fills out the form. Within 2 months, a silent bureaucratic shift has occurred. Our IT division, once a typical tech environment with about a dozen men and 4 women, now has, according to the official HR records, a staff of 8 men and 8 women. The productivity of the department skyrockets. Why? Because the most experienced, most competent people were finally being moved into the roles they should have been in all along. The logjams created by promoting unqualified people were gone. Things just worked better. The atmosphere in the office is electric. There's a sense of camaraderie, a feeling that we'd collectively outsmarted an unjust system. We never talked about it openly, but a simple nod or a knowing glance across the office was enough. We were all waiting for the other shoe to drop. We were all waiting for Nicole to notice. The moment of discovery must have been glorious. I imagine her sitting in her pristine office, preparing her quarterly diversity report for the corporate overlords. She probably had a smug smile on her face, ready to show off the incredible progress her women-first policy had made. She runs the numbers for the company. She sees the little graph, a small uptick in female leadership. Good, but not great. Then she runs the numbers for the IT division specifically, and she sees it, a 100% increase in female employees in just 1 quarter, a 200% increase in female leadership roles. She must have thought it was a system error, a glitch. So she clicks to see the raw data, the list of names, and she sees us, Andrew, Jace, Mike, Dave, Chris, all with a neat little F next to their names. The rage must have been seismic. The next morning, the emails go out. I get one. Jace gets one. Mike gets one. All of us who had transitioned. The subject, urgent meeting. The sender, Nicole. We all gather in the hallway outside the big HR conference room. There are 5 of us. We look at each other. No one is smiling. This is it, the showdown. We walk in. Nicole is sitting at the head of the long, polished table. Her face is a thundercloud. She looks like she hasn't slept. She doesn't offer us a seat. She just waits until the door clicks shut, and then she starts. She doesn't shout. Her voice is low, tight, and shaking with fury. She says she knows what we're doing. She calls it a coordinated, cynical, and insulting mockery of the company's commitment to equality. She accuses us of committing fraud, of making a disgusting joke out of the struggles of women and transgender people. She says we are everything that's wrong with the tech industry, a physical manifestation of toxic masculinity. We just stand there and listen. We let her vent. When she finally runs out of steam, she points a trembling finger at me. "You started this," she seethes. "You are going to fix it. All of you are going to march down to HR, retract these fraudulent forms, and I expect letters of apology on my desk by the end of the day. Or I will see to it that none of you ever work in this industry again." A heavy silence hangs in the air. I take a step forward. My heart is pounding, but my voice is calm. "Nicole," I start, keeping my tone respectful. "I'm a little confused. What exactly do you think is fraudulent?" She scoffs. "Don't play dumb with me, Andrew. You know exactly what you're doing." "I'm following company policy," I state simply. "Policy 4B, which you yourself wrote, it says the company accepts an employee's self-declared gender without question." I pause, letting the words sink in. "Are you questioning my gender identity, Nicole?" The entire dynamic of the room shifts in that single second. The color drains from her face. Her eyes widen. She's a predator that just realized she's walked into a cage. I can see the gears grinding in her head. She understands. She finally understands the trap she's in. If she says, yes, I am questioning it, she is a transphobe. She is violating her own signature policy. We could sue her and the company, and we would win. If she says, no, I'm not, then she has no case. We are women in the eyes of the company, and we are protected by the very policy she's trying to use against us. Jace steps forward, his expression one of polite concern. Yeah, Nicole, he says softly. It feels a little hostile in here. I came to this company because of its commitment to inclusivity. To hear the head of HR challenging how I identify, it's honestly a little shocking and very disappointing. Mike chimes in. I agree. This meeting feels discriminatory. Are you treating all of your female employees this way? Or just us? She opens her mouth, then closes it. She looks from face to face, seeing the same calm, unshakable resolve in each of us. She has no power here. Her weapons of shame and accusation are useless. We are shielded by the very ideology she champions. She just stares, her rage replaced by a cold, impotent panic. Finally, she just says, in a choked whisper, "Get out." We turn and walk out of the conference room. We don't say a word until we're down the hall and around the corner. And then we just let it out. The relief, the victory. It's not loud, just a shared moment of vindicated laughter. We won the battle. But we knew the war wasn't over. Nicole, defeated, went looking for new allies. Her first stop was my department director's office. He told me about it later. She apparently stormed in, demanding that he take disciplinary action against us for insubordination and unprofessional conduct. He just leaned back in his chair and listened patiently. When she was done with her tirade, he pulled up his department's performance dashboard on his monitor and turned it towards her. He pointed to the screen. Project completion rates were up 15%. Critical system errors were down 20%. Employee retention forecasts were the highest they'd been in 3 years. Then he pulled up the diversity statistics for his department. Nicole, he said, in his calm, managerial tone, according to your own metrics, my division is now the most gender diverse in the entire company. My team is performing better than ever. I'm hitting all my targets. In fact, senior management sent me a congratulatory email just last week about the incredible progress we've made on gender parity. He turned the screen back around. You're asking me to punish my most productive and experienced employees, who, according to your own official records, have helped me build a model of corporate diversity. Could you explain to me what possible business reason I would have for doing that? She had no answer. She just left his office. Strike one. Her final desperate move was to go to the one place in any company where ideology takes a back seat to cold, hard reality, the legal department. The head of legal was a man in his 60s who had been with the company for decades. He was a shark. He didn't care about smashing the patriarchy. He cared about avoiding lawsuits. She went to him with her story, framing us as a gang of malicious fraudsters. She wanted to know what legal grounds she had to fire us. The lawyer, as the story was later retold, listened to her entire tale without saying a word. When she was finished, he asked for copies of the two policies in question, the Women First Promotion Policy and the Self-Identification Policy. He spent 10 minutes reading them in complete silence. Then he took off his reading glasses, placed them on the desk, and looked at her. Let me get this straight, he said, his voice flat. You created a policy that gives preferential treatment based on gender. Then you created a second policy that allows any employee to define their own gender at any time, with a simple form and no evidence required. Nicole nodded eagerly, expecting him to see the fraud. And these employees, the lawyer continued, followed the exact procedure laid out in your policy. They filled out the form. They changed their gender in the system. And then they benefited from the preferential treatment outlined in your first policy. She confirmed that this was the case. Then there is nothing to be done, the lawyer stated. They have not broken a single rule. In fact, they have followed your rules to the letter. Nicole was aghast. But it's a sham. They're not really women. The lawyer leaned forward. And how do you propose we prove that in a court of law, Nicole? Are you going to testify that your own company's official policy on self-identification is a lie? Are you going to tell a judge that you, the head of HR, decided to personally investigate and invalidate the declared gender identities of your employees? The lawsuit they would file against us for discrimination and creating a hostile work environment would be a landmark case. We would be crucified in the press, and we would lose, spectacularly. He let that sink in. These men, he said, have not created a legal problem. Your policies have. The Women First initiative is a discrimination lawsuit waiting to happen on its own. The fact that our own employees have exposed a way to weaponize it just proves how poorly it was designed. He gave her his final, ice-cold verdict. You have two options. Do nothing and let the IT department be a model of gender diversity, or you can eliminate the policy that is causing the problem. Rescind the Women First program. Your choice. Strike 2, strike 3. She was out. A week passed in silence. We heard nothing. The tension slowly started to ease. Then, on a Wednesday afternoon, another company-wide email landed in our inboxes. The sender was Nicole. The subject line, an exciting update on our diversity and inclusion initiatives. My heart skipped a beat. The email was a masterpiece of corporate doublespeak. It started by congratulating everyone on the tremendous success of the Women First promotion policy. It claimed that the program had achieved its goals far faster than anticipated and had successfully kickstarted a new era of gender consciousness within the company. And therefore, the email continued, due to this resounding success, the policy was no longer needed. It was being discontinued, effective immediately. Going forward, all promotions would be based on a new holistic review process that evaluates candidates based on merit, experience, and performance. It was a surrender, disguised as a victory lap, a public humiliation wrapped in the language of success. No one was fooled. Everyone knew what had happened. The IT department had broken the system. The policy was dead. That afternoon, the mood in our department was celebratory. It was quiet, but it was there. The reign of ideological incompetence was over. Merit was back on the menu. Over the next few weeks, things slowly returned to normal. One by one, we each made another quiet trip to the HR department. We each submitted a new HR 37B form. This time, we ticked the mailbox. The same board assistant took our forms, stamped them, and processed them without a second glance. Our short, strange journey was over. We hadn't done it to be women. We had done it to be treated fairly. Camila, without Nicole's protective bubble, was exposed. The demands of the senior analyst role were too much for her. She made a series of costly mistakes. After a few months of struggle and a bad performance review, she quietly resigned. Nicole became a ghost. Her authority was gone. She stopped walking the halls and was rarely seen outside her office. A few months after her successful initiative was canceled, she too left the company for a new opportunity. Life went on. I was still a project team lead. Jace got his senior QA position. Mike was officially a senior network engineer. We had all earned our places. One evening, I was working late, finishing up a report. My department director was walking out and stopped by my desk. "Good work on the new project deployment, Andrew," he said. "You handled it well." "Thanks," I replied. He paused for a moment, looking at me. "You know," he said, his voice low so no one else could hear, "you really earned that promotion. A long time ago." He didn't specify which promotion he was talking about. He didn't have to. He gave a slight nod, then walked away. I sat there for a moment, watching him go. I didn't feel like a hero. I didn't feel like I'd smashed the patriarchy, or whatever the phrase of the day was. I had just been a guy who wanted a fair shot, and in the end, in a roundabout, absurd way, I'd gotten it. The system was still broken, the world was still crazy, but for one brief shining moment, we had made it work for us, and that was enough.